This is Chewbacca from Star Wars.
Why are you doing a Chewbacca impersonation?
Here we go. Chewbacca from Star Wars.
Okay. Cinema Swirl! Fun aplenty. It's episode number 120.
120.
And you've qualified for the bursary because it's our 10-year anniversary.
Hey!
Hi, once again, it's me, the bicentennial Captain Kevin Mahon, joined as I'm always by my 200 years of Cinema Swirl P. Chaplin. It's Sam Chaplin.
Hello.
Hey.
10 thrills, 10 spills. Who would have thought 120 years ago when we started Cinema Swirl we'd get to this point? Wow.
It's amazing. It's
wow.
It's and you know what? We had a little discussion beforehand because not a typical episode of Cinema Swirl. This is 10-year spectacular anniversary episode of Cinema Swirl. Yeah. But we couldn't leave that round number cooling on the windowsill in 120. That wasn't happening.
No, it's too neat. It's too neat.
So good. Look, you got two guys here who are proud of their 12 episodes, one monthly episode a year for a decade.
That's the thing.
That's a nice number.
It's proof.
It's
for the doubters and the haters. And the fakes and snakes.
The fakes and the snakes. I'm always against those guys.
That we have not delivered one episode per month, at least.
Yeah.
Because there's some little bonus ones and other ones that haven't been counted as numbered episodes. At least in the last decade.
That's a number to be proud of. And the content's not bad either, to be
Yeah, it's fine. But I'm always about quantity, not quality.
Sam's a numbers guy. I said, okay, I'll do this podcast with you, but are you a numbers guy? And Sam's like, I'm crunching them as we speak.
Yeah, nice big bowl of numbers.
A nice big delicious bowl of numbers. 10 years ago, on a fateful July afternoon, where I can only speculate it was a lot more warm and sunny than it is currently.
Yes.
We sat down to record episode 1, brackets Star Wars episode number 4, A New Hope for a new podcast.
We did. It's sort of wild to think about us as I was 23, you were 26.
I was just 26, if you know what I dicks. And it was quite a time to start a podcast with you, Sam. We'd known each other at that point for 2, 3, nearly 3?
At least a couple of years, maybe
At
3.
least, no, because I came in 2011. Would have been 3 years then,
3 years. 3 solid
years.
Yeah.
And we had come back from Edinburgh Fringe the year prior to this?
Yes.
Okay.
We had, yeah. We were marketing ourselves as stand-up comedians who were happening to do a podcast. That's what it felt like.
We didn't need a pandemic to twist our arm. We just did it because we had a microphone and a thirst for knowledge, because it did start out of a genuine desire to cure you of your affliction. More than 120 technically movies later, because we've done a load of shite ones on Patreon as well. You are, in fact, in essence, a changed man?
I've seen more films, yeah. and 10 years have passed.
At least one a month. Come on now, hey?
Yeah. Do normal people watch more than one film a month?
I get these random urges, and I feel like I've scared my wife off now because of this. Where anytime she's like, I think I'd like to watch more movies, I'm like, I'd watch a movie every day. And I think there's a lot of people who do watch a movie every day. I think I would like to be someone who watches a movie every day, although I think that would probably mean a lot of my day is taken up in any given day watching movies a day.
Kevin, to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Cinema Swirl, we've gone back to where it all started.
Where all begins again.
We've scrolled all the way down on the podcast player to episode 1. Episode 1.
Couple of pulls for the refresh there, Sam. I almost got lost along the way. Goodness.
Infinite scroll has its limits. You got to keep going down there, all the way down to episode 1.
You got to work for it if you want to find episode 1 in this day and age. I don't suppose to know how people consume Cinema Swirl, if they are a new fan, or if they are a fan for many years, if they go back to the start periodically, or if you just find the movie in question. I feel there's a few episode hoppers, no doubt.
I suspect a lot of people just scroll and see which movies they like and just pick those.
At that particular moment. Yeah.
That feels nice. I'd been worried that people would go back to the start. I've been quite scared of the start of Cinema Swirl for a while. I've not listened back in many moons.
I mean, you don't listen back to... I mean, you edit episodes... But like you've said to me before, and I've not delved deeper, because it is a weird thing listening to your own thing, and anything if you're trying to be funny from any period of time having passed is a doubly fun experience.
Yes. So because I edit the episodes, I listen back to every single episode in arguably painstaking detail. So once it's out there, I'm like, I've listened to that, and I never need to listen to that again.
And you've always had the joy then of listening to the worst version of that episode.
Yeah,
you
which
know,
no one else gets to listen to.
No one gets to hear that awful one. I did love someone way back in Patreon, like, why don't you release an unedited version of it? Like,
you think you want that, but you don't want that.
Why don't you give me the ingredients of a cake? I'm sure it'll be just as tasty, Mum. Don't stress out this birthday.
You don't want to be spooning flour into your mouth and hoping that it's going to taste like cake.
Sift it first, at least.
So I've been quite fearful of listening back because I haven't done it. But to be honest, I didn't need to worry that much. Although we do get little low voice Sam Chaplin.
Oh, yeah.
Straight away.
But like, I want to say that, that's your first podcast, but it's not, because you had done Comedy Society podcasts in Lincoln the year prior, so you were a seasoned podcast boy. Now, I'd done podcasts for like a year and a bit at that point, but I know you had also as well, So
I realised that there's this thing that I used to do when I had guitar lessons very briefly.
Yeah.
I had about 5 weeks, So when I went to go and see my guitar teacher, who was quite a cool guy, and I was a little boy whose voice hadn't broken. I would do this kind of, I think Blink-182 sounds really good.
A little bit juvenile, I thought, personally, but whatever, man, yeah.
When my parents would come and get me, they'd hear me talking to the guitar teacher, they'd be like, what on earth is he doing? Why is this little squeaky boy trying to make his voice so loud?
But do you think there was ever a point where they were like, is that what he's actually like? And he's putting on this cute younger kid act for us at home?
They knew the real me. They knew that this was fakery. I don't know why that kind of came out in early Cinema Swirl. I guess it wasn't my first podcast rodeo, but it was my first kind of... Well, it's the first Cinema Swirl. There was a bit of feeling of like, I need to be funny on this, so I better talk
I think
low and be quiet.
A lot of that comes out just from anxiety. And that's the thing, it's not unique to you. If you look back at the first episode of the Attitude Era podcast, I'm the same. Yeah. First episode of How to Wrestling, like I thought it was like a boy thing or something, and then I listened to the first episode of How to Wrestling, and Joe's voice is a lower octave as well. I think, honestly, when you're maybe trying to think about what you're saying, and I think it's just a natural thing when you're not used to doing that, dare I say.
It was nice to hear that actually later on in the episode I start to sound normal, relatively.
Yes.
I think, it's just early on I sound low. Also, do you remember the intro that we used to do on Cinema Swirl? And do you want to recreate it now?
Okay. Hi, I'm Kevin Mahon.
And I'm Sam Chaplin.
And you host the Attitude Era podcast.
And I haven't seen any films.
And welcome to Cinema Swirl.
Tell you what, Kevin.
Swirl, Year 11 remix.
The theme tune slaps from day one. It's good. I'm going to toot my own horn.
I think there's a number of times I've always been very grateful for like the non-obvious elements of what helps a podcast in its early days. And I definitely think... I always thought How To was helped greatly by its artwork and its music, and I thought Cinema Swirl similarly was greatly helped by its artwork and its music.
Yes.
And I felt there's always been a symbiotic relationship between those shows because the different creative elements certainly helped it feel a lot more pro than the low-voiced people speaking at the start necessarily did. But I mean, I was interested to your thoughts about like the fact that you kind of warmed up a little bit as it went on.
Yeah.
Because that is the biggest change from how Cinema Swirl has been done for the majority of it compared to that first go-around where we used to do this fucking insane 10-hour recording session where we come in, we'd plan stuff, we'd do the pre-swirl, then we'd watch a movie. 2 people watching a movie taking notes means you're pausing like 3 times as much as you would normally because you're not pausing at the same moments. and he got to eat then and then do another, like, that was kind of bordering on mania. I think maybe, at least on my part, the energy of the second half of those early episodes.
That's the approach of two men in their 20s.
Yes.
Who, are like, oh, we'll just record for 10 hours or whatever it is. We'll just keep it going.
I'll just go to the bathroom and be done in 5 minutes. See you later, everyone. Because now it's more like 2. Bam. Fiber game. Strong. I've changed.
But I think, honestly, it probably wasn't a sustainable model for recording the show, as we maybe realised.
Particularly because, peek behind the fucking, not the paywall, just the general planning of this. This came out like mid to late July in 2014. I think I entered teacher training like literally the next month. What the fuck was I thinking starting this podcast? That's stupid. It's genuine.
Well, I'm glad you did.
That's a man in his 20s right there. What an idiot. I'll just
do
drive
everything
home
all the time.
I'll just do everything all the time.
But now we've given ourselves a bit more time, and it's nice.
I appreciate having a little bit of a time as well, because I feel 2014 Kevin, who has many failings, professional and personal, I feel that my excitement at wanting to explain your emotional state while recounting the movie was never going to be as good as you telling us your experience that and it was one of those things where I felt like your early voice was being snuffed out by my over-enthusiasm, and I didn't think that was necessarily the best way to find out everything all the time.
But, we got there.
But we were very excited, is the thing.
I was very excited,
You know, like 2 dogs coming in with a microphone, running around and barking, and one of the dogs barked too much, and that dog is sorry to the other dog, and their new podcast, Two Stupid Dogs, is coming to you, brought by DogPass.
Oh, DogPass. Thank you, DogPass.
Thank you, DogPass, again, for making Year 11 possible, honestly,
This episode is brought to you by DogPass, and this is the sponsor segment for, you've guessed it, DogPass.
DogPass, which is basically like a chapter on any episode as far as I'm concerned. We're not just being sponsored by them, we're making out as if they're real.
If I was Spotify's AI and I didn't want to be seen as some sort of wimp or loser, I'd put a chapter marker here and I'd call it DogPass. I'd do it again. I think so.
I would kind of preempt this and not have to have us explain it slowly, like idiots.
No. I'd call it sponsor segment DogPass so that people genuinely might skip it. I worry that might be a thing that people go, oh no, the sponsor segment's come up.
Their 2 dogs are having fun again now. And no one should have given these dogs hypothetical sponsors that, they're just going to chew on them and wee on them and whatnot.
These dogs can't be trusted.
Besides the low nature of our voices and the marathon nature of the recordings, was there anything else that you found different or intriguing about your revisit to episode 1?
I mean, there was like a few references. References to Tumblr. References to TomToms as a thing that existed.
Wow.
There was a bit where you said he's not set the TomTom or something. I was like, oh wow, that's amazing.
God. Man driving car there is what's going on. My goodness.
And we were clearly in peak Game of Thrones because God.
We were for everyone. Once that was like a frame of reference for Sam, I was like, this'll help him. Because I was thinking that the names of all the Star Wars characters would be difficult, despite the fact that you basically correctly guessed a lot of them beforehand, including guys from other movies. The other bit that I thought really was evocative of peak 2014 was saying that if you're streaming stuff, it's easy to avoid ads. I'm like,
that was so funny.
You just use ad block and then you don't have ads in your streaming service. And I'm assuming it'll stay that way forever, Kevin. We were literally talking last episode in the preamble before we recorded about how ad block is basically non-technology.
Doesn't do anything. It can't work.
Golden age.
I was fascinated by how actually things don't feel that different on this episode, really. I mean, they do a bit, but like OTP was there since day one.
We had a lot of that ready to go, Yeah,
it's just like... It just felt like a real Cinema Swirl episode.
It did, and it felt like, as clumsy as I personally felt I was as the host, there were these like little... Like, I'm very happy that I was able to at least capture a few of those precious drops of like what it was like at that very early stage when like it wasn't just that you hadn't seen a lot of movies as you are now. It was just that there was no frame of reference whatsoever. And I feel like that in itself was something that was so, I don't know, I thought it wouldn't be conveyed well. And I'm glad that we managed to, at least in those earliest days, get that across as well, I guess. There's definitely jokes and things that I said that I wouldn't make now.
Sure.
You know?
But
and I feel like it was me making those jokes and you being in the unfortunate position of being in the room with me making jokes that I wouldn't make anymore.
I think, you know, I may have been fortunate to not be making those jokes, but I don't want to seem like you've done anything wrong. Like, we were silly boys.
Very silly boys.
I would say it wasn't anywhere near as bad as I thought it could have been if you listened to anyone from 10 years ago. I was nervous.
I mean, the way I viewed it is I'm much happier with the 2024 version of
course.
me than I was with the 2014 one. And like, if there's a tragic alternate version of the 10-year anniversary of Cinema Swirl where I listen back and I'm like, oh God, I was so much better. Like, I feel like as a show, we have had the benefit of a nice long 10 years together as we have aged like a fine wine. Whereas those early days felt like we were snuffing some homemade alcohol a little bit.
Sure. This is definitely the way round you want it to be. Like, we've got documentary evidence that we have grown and changed over time.
Phew, nice. Thank fuck for that.
Yes. we can prove it that, you know, from that to that, we're doing all right. I did listen to this with an editor's ear, and I was like, oh, we could have trimmed out that and ah there. But we hadn't put those ground rules in place. We didn't know what a Cinema Swirl episode sounded like. And also, I was shocked to discover at the end, you edited it.
Yes.
I forgot that there was a time where, you know, it was not old Sammy Chapolino doing the editing. I
had this weird idea in my head that I don't know, like, because I had been doing it regularly, that it would be easier for me to do it than you. But I think that, again, look at the timescale of when I was thinking that was a good idea to do that.
And I'll edit it, and I'll do this, and I'll record it here, and I'll do my teacher training, and I'll do this podcast as well. It
literally reminded me, there was one movie we watched that I watched on my class off and my lunch break while I was teaching, and I was in like Skegness doing teacher training, and I got a visit the next day from the IT guys going like, were you showing the kids something on Netflix? And I was like, yeah? And he's like, oh, it's just that you use like 8 times the entire school's data over the course of the last 2 days. What's going on? I'm like, oh, Attenborough, man, those bloody big file sizes on planet Earth. Certainly didn't manage my workload effectively.
But for the most part, I think we've come out, at least of this early part, relatively unscathed.
Yeah, I think we had a lot of things figured out that we wanted to get out of it. I was surprised at that I was prepared with questions in hand for those kind of earlier episodes, to kind of prompt and whatnot. It did actually feel like halfway through the episode we realized that neither one of us had decided beforehand who was actually going to lead us through the movie. Yes. And
you took the reins?
I think earlier on I was expecting you to. I think there's a point like 10 minutes into the post where I'm like, oh shit, no, I'm meant to be doing this, I think. So...
But again, for a first episode, remarkably it flows quite nicely.
And it was very nice to hear, like, as insane as the schedule was, I got the fuzziest warm feeling of nostalgia while we were describing the fact that it was a late Saturday afternoon and we'd eaten a load of biscuits and drunk a lot of tea and we'd watched a movie and we were giddy as hell about that. And that was very nice because it was not a nice house nor a nice place to record an episode of a podcast or a particularly nice place to watch a movie. But I still got that nostalgia, which proves you can be nostalgic for any old shite, really, at the end of the day.
Yes, there is something that was, nice about watching it together in the same space.
Yes.
And I'm sure we will find opportunities to do that again down the line.
Oh, yeah, it's always nice as a special treat.
Yeah, but I also don't feel like we lose too much not doing that. Yeah. Again, surprisingly, like in the time that we've been doing this remotely, I feel like we're still kind of getting that same feeling.
Yeah, and it certainly doesn't feel like different, and I struggled to find anything other than an improvement on the later episodes than the earlier ones in terms of seamlessness and whatnot. So I think, this way, not sleep deprived, was certainly much better for the listener and for the editors and the players in question, I would say. What I also was blown away by in terms of stuff being kind of there out the box was, we didn't say let's go do it. It was like, we're going to do a Cinema Swirl and let's go do it. So that was kind of just said flippantly, but it was there. Yeah. And stars turning into star wipes just like that, and you made me giggle like a fool, and that was it. It was done. So
that was me doing a little joke.
I'm glad that we stubbornly stuck to our convictions, Sam.
But now those convictions just feel like they've always been in place, and they're there for a reason. But it's literally just we've copied off the first episode and just kept it going.
We're cribbing ourselves from the past.
I thought it was really interesting that most of the movies that you reference as like, oh, Sam, you haven't seen this, for fuck's sake, we've now done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the Shia LaBeouf Indiana Jones, and within 5 minutes we're talking about how sexy we think Cate Blanchett is in that film. And I was just shocked that we were both like, oh yeah, she's sexy. I was like, okay, lads, Jesus.
Well, it's because we're all riled up from watching so much Game of Thrones on our ad-free streaming services. We said we needed an outlet. That's why we started this show.
It was not as traumatic as an experience as I thought it was going to be. It was actually quite nice.
I did a stream with Adam Bigelow a while back when it was the 10-year anniversary for the Attitude Hour podcast, and we listened through live to the episode, which, if you want to talk about like, you know, a proper game of Russian roulette in the now, it was streaming that live and reactions live. And similarly, like, I think, like, I don't know, I figure most people who get into podcasts who want to make people laugh are the types of people who overthink things a little bit anyway. Not to speak for everyone, but I certainly know that a lot of the people I know who do this are like myself in that way. And I've come to learn that it's never going to be as bad as you are. If you get anxious about it at any point, it probably won't be as bad as you feel it will be when you're in the midst of feeling anxious about it.
No. And if you have an inclination to say a bad joke, just don't say it and do a different one. And
That's
I think we've done. There's subsequent episodes that I'm not sure what I've said in those.
Oh, I'm sure there's also. I mean,
there'll be stuff we'll trip over.
I don't know. Early days, I think my instinct was to edit out stuff less, and I thought I was always worried that if someone thinks that we're trying to make a joke and we get rid of it, it will be cheating the listener, and that is probably not value for money, Sam. Value for money.
I think now we think the opposite is true.
Yeah.
Like, if we don't chop out quite a bit out of these, we are cheating the listener out of their time. Yeah. Now, what was missing, Kevin, from episode 1 of Cinema Swirl that we didn't have?
What did we not have?
The mailbag.
We didn't have a mailbag for this episode, of course, or any of our beloved recurring segments.
But for this episode, I have asked for some anniversary questions, both on the socials, on the emails.
There's 10 years worth here.
On the Patreon. There is quite a lot, so I think I'm going to do a few here and then kind of pepper them in the next bit. We're going to watch Star Wars, by the way. We're going to watch
Star Wars because we recently on Patreon, as part of this, we did Force Awakens, because Star Wars feels like it is forever tied to Cinema Swirl canon. And I don't think either of us have seen episode 4 since that fateful day, my friends.
No, I haven't.
That many 10 years ago. And here we are now in the future where we're going to spend the rest of our lives. My plan, right? I'm saying this now. My plan is to try and watch the original version of Star Wars Episode 4. Because listening to some of my moans and groans about CG in 2014, they've not given that another pass since then. So, can you?
My intention is to watch whatever old shite they've got on Disney+. I'm just going to go for, like, if you press Star Wars A New Hope...
You want the experience.
I'm going to get what I'm given. I'm going to get what George Lucas wants to slop in front of me.
And behind George Lucas is a bigger George Lucas who's actually just masking his Souls Corporation called Disney, who's now serving his slop to you.
But I'm going to eat that slop. But I must stress that this episode is, I'm imagining, going to be loosey-goosey and probably not the same structure as a normal swirl.
This is a 10-year anniversary spectacular.
Yeah.
We're not intending it to be like a replacement or like a redux. We're just going to have a little chat about it.
It's the last day of school and you're allowed to bring your Game Boy Advance in.
There you go.
You know, it's still school, sure, but I mean, it's not It's not school. It's not a proper school day.
And then it turns out the maths teacher knows how to get that scary boss that you've been stuck on Metroid Fusion, and maybe you've left school with a couple of new things in your pocket.
Yeah.
Expectations? No. Chuck them at the door.
So, Kevin, how about for the 100 and somethingth time, but not 120th,
Yay!
let's open up that sweet, sweet mailbag.
Yes.
Right, so welcome to the mailbag.
10 years worth of mail in here.
Years.
When I worked in the mail and the guy was like, you look like you got nothing to do, come here, look behind the mail sorting machine. And I literally said, there's 10 years worth of mail here. And he's like, yeah, I know, it's crazy, right?
Some of these have just been like thank yous and congratulations and people saying that they love the show and they've listened for 10 years. And we just want to say thank you so much for that. It means a lot.
Thank you.
It's very nice.
Appreciated. Always very much appreciated.
Whatever point along the line you joined us, thank you for listening to Cinema Swirl. But I should not be reading any of those messages right now. So,
between us and you guys, I mean, I think those guys that came along year 5 blow year 4 out of the water. Blow them out of the water. Everyone since then has been great, but those guys blew them out of the water.
Kevin, I'm going to do this first one quick fire. This is from Tom. What does OTP mean?
We've been through this many times. It's a one-time password for the Cinema Swirl SoundCloud account.
Easy peasy. Less
Easy.
quick fire from Jake here. Do you feel like the botched deal from the shady company all those years ago that caused the hiatus actually ended up making the podcast and your friendship stronger? That has got a lot of likes on the Patreon, that question.
Wow. Honestly, God, when we were doing the Force Awakens thing on the Patreon page, I was blown away because we looked at all the episodes in this big block, which was quite a humbling experience for both of us doing this for a decade. It really made us feel quite small in the end. And the hiatus, which is like
It's not that long.
8 months, if that, thereabouts.
The longest one is, something like that.
I think like the depth to which we were in the short term, a bit miffed off, may have overstated like the long-term relevance of that, because it's really not been that important. However, I will say, from my point of view at least, Sam, that coming back after that's when this podcast started.
That's day one.
Cooking, rocking and rolling.
I think there's two distinct eras, and there was a point where we're kind of doing it properly and going for it and enjoying it. Well, we've always enjoyed it, but
being able to enjoy it to the fullest, like there wasn't other things getting in the way of it. And that's the problem. I learned that very, very quickly across many podcasts, is that no one wants to listen to a podcast with someone who's tired or cranky. No. So we had to like cut that out, because like even if you are very good friends and you get on and you have a bit of fun and all that, you're still two tired, cranky people who are, realizing with every passing minute how long it's going to take. And it's not the right place to make any sort of chilled out content, which is the anticipation there. So, yeah, I think we always felt like we were in not real mode when we first started. I felt ye could have fired us and kicked us out at any point in those first 10 episodes, and there's nothing we could have done about it. We're like, oh, all right, sorry.
Whereas now, we're in,
10 years.
We've joined the union, and we're
10 years, exactly. Just try.
To be clear, two things. The company that the botched deal was with has since been subsumed by a bigger company and is now basically just a feature of a bigger company.
All right, do you want to know what it's like being a small independent podcast creators in this media landscape? You know that scene in Star Wars Episode 1 where loads of nasty fish just eat each other, and you're like, none of these fish really know what's going on, do they? That's what it's like.
It's that.
It's that.
Also, I have still somewhere the content that we recorded for that, but I still don't know if legally we own it or not.
We do, because we never signed their thing, so it's ours. What's in that?
There's like a review of there's a sort of Oscars featurette where we're talking about the films
going
that
to
are
be
up for
on
Oscars.
cinema. That is so fucking funny. Oh my god.
So that exists somewhere. I've got that on file somewhere. This kind of thing of me and you talking about movie news.
Oh, why? I could have been showing you new movie news instead of movies. What a waste of 10 years.
It's a new way to deliver audio in these kind of bite-sized news chunks. That's what people want. They want that.
And you should win things for listening as well. No
Yes,
one
Jake.
was proposing that. No one was proposing that because they're all too scared.
Yes, Jake, it has made us stronger, as has just doing this for 10 years.
I feel like I never really have much opportunity to say it. I always think it's like a given or whatnot. But like the greatest pleasure of doing this with you is the fact that it is you and I, and that is it. Like that is you know, the only masters we have to serve are you lovely masters listening here. But like I can't imagine how difficult it would be to do something like this under any sort of constraint, yes, alone the constraints that doing it for a company would impose upon us.
We're our own boss. Or you're our boss. Thank you, boss.
Thanks, bosses.
Cheers,
All
boss.
I'm saying is I'm very glad that I don't have to talk about movie news in 10 minutes or less.
So, a very pertinent question here from Tristan. Will we ever see the Cinema Swirl fanbase t-shirts with the very specific font choices ever again? For listeners, Kevin is wearing his. For listeners as well, I forgot to dig out one of my Cinema Swirl t-shirts for this, so I'm going to try and find one for the next bit. Oh, this is video, by the way, so yeah.
Yeah, it's video, by the way, I should say.
video,
We'll be matching the next one as well there now, sure. I thought that I would mark the occasion by wearing this, although, unfortunately, it's made me and Sam both look like we're doing our GCSE drama because we're both wearing our black long sleeve t-shirts.
This is the only black t-shirt I have.
This is a mime called Choices. And it's about the choices we face. I didn't do GCSEs. I'm lying. I'm sorry.
I don't think it would be fair for those t-shirts to return, but I think some t-shirts will return.
Yeah.
Or will emerge.
I think we've been talking about doing t-shirt stuff again recently.
Yeah.
I think both times we did it with Cinema Swirl, they were kind of like short run limited type of dealios because
Maybe we need some long runs, man.
maybe some long runs. We may look at some options.
Look, it might happen, and it probably will happen. Kevin, I'm going to keep this short and sweet, and I'm going to pepper some of these in later on in the episode. But the last one I want to get to here that has got the most likes.
The most likes? Do they call them likes or are they thumbs?
Thumbs? Faves?
Thumbs? Most
Faves?
thumbed? Most love shared post?
Most loved, most hearted. This comes in from Daniel, who writes the following. Great start here. Not a question, but I've been waiting for...
That's that then.
But I've been waiting for the right time to point this out, and fear I'm 6 to 7 years too late. Flip Reverse It was actually a song by Blazing Squad. Not So Solid Crew. Congratulations on 10 years, and thank you for genuinely brightening my day with every episode of Swirl/Swill and anything in between. And again, just to clarify, Blazing Squad sang Flip Reverse It. Thanks, Daniel.
I can give like a very boring answer to the not question.
Yeah.
Which is...
Well, it's not a question.
It's not a question.
No.
I don't want to be the guy who says that I'm aware of something later, but I was aware because I used to do a stand-up bit where I pretended to be a member of the So Solid crew, and a backbone of that would be my insistence of our hit single Flip Reverse It, which is in fact obviously Blazing Squad, and I'm guilty of the indulgence of an in-joke at the expense of our masters here in our ears. We're in your ears, our masters whose ears we are in.
Yes.
But I am nothing if not happy to know that we have a high caliber of listener who knows their garage, who knows their R&B, and bit of best of British is what it is ultimately at the end of the day. If it's Blazing Squad or So Solid Crew, that's what's best at the end, isn't it?
I would be much more willing to have a go at Daniel here if you hadn't put a really sincere, nice congratulations.
No, I like that. I like
it.
Because, like, honestly, there does come a point when, like, I like to think that I'm some of your fun friend or your fun cousin or your fun uncle's friend in your ear. And there comes a point after 10 years when you have to point out to them, you've been saying this factually wrong thing for a decade for a joke that only you don't remember that, do you? You don't remember that was a bit that I did in the Tower Bar?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I didn't.
No.
I didn't expect you to.
No, I don't remember.
I wasn't even indulging my audience of one here. That's how self-indulgent it was.
But I also don't remember you saying any of this on Cinema Swirl.
I've said it here and there a few. It's like one of those things, like if someone says trousers and I'll say just for around the house, it's almost like an instinct. And I can't tell you what causes it.
Yeah,
but like
it's there.
I feel like I owe an apology first and foremost, ultimately, to the crew for dissing them like that.
The So Solid crew.
They could be involved in some sort of a gang war as far as I'm concerned. I've not been up with the crew for the last 20 years. So I'm really sorry I let you down like that, but I pledge my allegiance to the fizzy bastards now, and that's who I roll with because they're heavy and well known.
They are. Kevin, I think we're going to kind of wrap up the mailbag there, but keep the mailbag open.
There's peppering. Keep the grinder out for the
and
peppering.
Some of this mail is going to spill out into the post-swirl bit because it's loosey-goosey and
it's loose, fun mail. What fun. Yeah, on our hands and knees picking up 10-year-old mail.
All right.
Well, in that case, let's go do for the first and only time.
No, Kevin. No, not let's go do. How did you say it on episode 1?
I said it's going to do a Cinema Swirl. We're going to go do it. So it's a 10-year spectacular anniversary. We're going to go do it.
That's some great stuff, Kevin. Oh, hi, Sam here from Cinema Swirl. This episode is brought to you with the support of our backers over at patreon.com/Cinema Swirl. $5 OTP backers get instant access to every episode of Cinema Swirl, a monthly exclusive bonus show where Kevin and I review bad movies. But not this month. This month we're doing Cinema, a show where we watch Star Wars The Force Awakens. We're not saying that's a bad movie. We're not putting it in with Swirl, but we have watched Force Awakens and reviewed it, and it's on the Patreon now, and it's also a video episode like this is. So if that seems of interest, head on over to patreon.com/Cinema Swirl to find out more. Thanks. And now back to Cinema Swirl.
And we're 10-year anniversary post doing a Cinema Swirl, but not like you might have thought that we did, because what we've just done is we have watched Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope, but this time we've done it kind of going, oh yeah, it's 10 years ago now, wasn't it? Sure, yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, it was. Should I would have made it 2014. Jesus.
What's the equivalent of an initial gut reaction that has been percolating for 10 years? A decade's gut reaction.
I mean, you're not feeling it in your gut. If it's a decade, it's a decade's duodenum reaction, right? That's what it's got to be.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I, for the sake of partial alliteration, I will ask you, Sam, now for your decades-long duodenum reaction to Star Wars Episode 4, New Hope.
Yeah, it's Star Wars. It's Star Wars, isn't it? It's just Star Wars. Initial gut reaction was there from day one. You asked me my initial gut reaction.
Yeah,
it wasn't the
I know.
first thing you said, but it was there.
It was there.
It's all there.
If you've probably figured out, those of you who are listening are probably aware of this a lot more than Sam and I, but I do reckon we have certain patterns to how we speak and certain phrases that we just like to use because they're there and ready. There are easy go phrases, and initial gut reaction has always been there from day one, or as some might call it, from day dot.
I'm not a fan of day dot.
Have you heard
day dot?
This is perhaps not immediately relevant.
Yeah.
But have you heard people using odd at the end of an estimation of a number?
30 odd.
Yeah. And he was gone for 20 odd, and then he was gone for 10 odd after that.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
You can't say like 4 odd. It feels like there's you have to get into a certain iteration of numbers for odd, and doesn't matter if they're odd or even numbers. Very often they're just hypothetical rounded numbers.
I know what you're saying, but I like, 20 odd, 30 odd, 40 odd. I don't like day dot.
No, but
I'm sorry.
We have been doing this podcast for 10 odd since day dot, And Sam's been down since day dot. I've always been saying that.
Yeah, down since day dot ish, which is roughly day dot odd. It's
ish.
kind of about that, yeah.
Odd and ish, down since day dot
Day
odd.
dot odd. I mean, that feels like a t-shirt.
It's a funny old language, isn't it? That feel like a t-shirt. Here's a t-shirt.
So, right, Kevin's got his proper Cinema Swirl OG t-shirt. I have got one here. There's a cinema... Although it's a misprinted one.
We agreed that we'd match.
It's here, but it's a misprinted one where we've got very dark noses. We look like we've been punched in the schnoz, which is quite
when he said misprinted, I thought that was one of the rare Cinema Swirl t-shirts that were floating around on the black market for a little bit. So you're not wearing that out of respect for our honestly perfectly normally coloured noses.
Yeah, that's the reason, and I can fit into it, and it's perfectly fine.
That's good.
I just don't need to prove that, actually. I don't need to prove that I can fit into it still.
I will say, having a couple of podcasts running for 10 plus years each has been handy for just getting a general sense of my torso, because I've had, a couple of these t-shirts now for a good few years. But look at the quality of the shirt that's no longer commercially available. Wasn't made with an old plastic easy single print now, was it? This was woven in, hand-drawn even.
I had those in my bedroom and I sent them out in the post.
What did you send out with those special surprises?
Oh, so right, the handwritten notes that we made during our first review, and indeed a bunch of our other reviews.
Yes, and you would always take them off me at the end, because I think the first episode I wrote notes in like what was one of 3 stand-up books at the time, but from that point on I do remember it being an awful rigmarole, because I just couldn't commit to any one book, so I was always ending up asking you for pages or finding bits or writing things on the back of envelopes when I ran out of the pages that I already had. But thankfully Sam hoovered those all up and distributed them across the United Kingdom and the field.
I took them away thinking one day I'll do something with these, and then I just had this big folder full of notes.
Evidence.
When we started posting out t-shirts, I thought I'll just bung a couple of pages in.
It's an odd thing to get, though, isn't it? It's like you ever get anything off eBay and someone has wrapped it up in a bag from a shop that's only in their region. I'm like, fucking hell, what's a Tandy bag? What's going on here?
But I thought that sort of piece of ephemera would be a nice thing to have. So some of you out there might have the notes from this, or you've dropped off Cinema Swirl since you got them.
Could be. They're around there somewhere. But they were stained with coffee, tea, perhaps Papa John's, KFC. Who is to say, really, there were a lot of different phases and those down and dirty early days.
But that's real, man.
So how does Sam do his notes all these 10 years later?
I type them on the computer.
What? So you on laptop while watching, or do you have a cloud?
Do you have a cloud?
I'm asking. He could.
So I have the iOS, the Apple Notes app across my laptop, phone, etc.
What's that for, mate? All your apologies, is it?
It'd be weirder to actually format it properly and like make it in Photoshop and do it nice than to put it into a...
But it's just one of those things now that it's like, by virtue of the fact, if you have to apologize by doing it like that, it's like, it seems to make it worse, is my interpretation of it.
Yeah, it's mad that there's a kind of form and format to online apologies now. If you do it on camera, you've got to show yourself turning on the camera. Like, you're just like, I'm not editing anything. This is real,
then
man.
At the end, you have to go, all right, guys, that's all for now. And then we go down, In closing, H-Bomber Guy, I'm sorry you did not like Cinema Swirl and its 120 episodes. I'm really, really sorry that it wasn't to your taste. Please don't listen to any of my content, other content, please.
And then it goes down. I'm so scared when you do that you're going to stop. Stop doing it,
I'm Sam. I thought we should pivot to video for the 10-year anniversary and let noted dog with posable thumbs Kevin go.
Stop doing it.
Great. It'll make you motion sick, won't it?
It's making me regular sick. I do it on the Notes app and I type it out. I'm on laptop while watch movie.
Really?
Yeah. But I'm sitting down. The laptop is on the lap, which I know is not the style these days.
Whereas I'm more like, I'm like this when I'm...
Kevin's got his iPad out. He's kind of leaning back, but with the hand on the forehead.
And even though it might appear physically there's a lot more ennui going on.
You're not doing it on the Wii, are you? You're doing it on the iPad?
No. I'm Wii U. I've got Evernote on Wii U, on the Evernote channel, you know. I find that there's something encompassing about a laptop computer that makes perhaps the watching of a movie even more formalized, I guess.
It's not the best way of doing it, and there must be a better way. And arguably, your iPad solution seems right, but I've never written on an iPad with a pencil.
Look, when I moved to Manchester, it's kind of feel like when all the podcasts kind of finally were able to be full-time and all that jazz and come out as they're meant to, and not have lots of commuting between podcasting and whatnot.
Yes.
I got the microwavable notebook that was like doing the rounds. That would have been like 2016, I think, or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
And to be fair, it was delicious when we ate that after one of the records. Yeah, it was
It was very, very good. But the microplastic were absurd. I got that with the idea of being like, I like writing notes. I'll write all my notes in there, and then I'll just, they go to the cloud, and then I'll microwave it. It didn't fit in my microwave, and I didn't check that until I had finished the book. Because I'll finish the book, I'll microwave it so that it goes blank, and then we'll start again. So I just have a really expensive notebook that has like notes for like SummerSlam 2001 and I think like one of the early Cinema Swirls, and that's that. I did get a second microwave years later, and it also doesn't fit in there either. So,
I remember you being very proud of the microwave notebook.
I was so proud. Because I thought that I was like kind of a digital necromancer of sorts, that I was still going to be, a little bit of the physical. I was very of the opinion that when taking notes for things, having the actual writing gave me a sense of my emotional state while I was watching the thing. Right. So if it was in big crazy writing, I knew that this was an insane over the top bit or particularly one way or the other. But I do go on iPad. That is how I take my notes. And now I'm going to ask you, Sam, to guesstimate how many pages of notes are in this here cloud book on the iPad. And I will tell you, it started here on The Mask is the earliest I think I could find us doing in this one.
When did we do The Mask?
We would have done The Mask around 1 year into Cinema Swirl, because the adjacent Cinema Swirl is The Wicker Man, which was episode number 10 of Cinema Swirl, apparently. So how many pages of notes do you think that I've taken since then?
275.
Final answer? Final answer. Okay, Sam, I'm happy to inform you that the total number of notes, and I am trying to get to the bottom, and it is taking some time, is, as of today's episode, 1,420 pages of notes.
Hell.
And that's just Cinema Swirl.
Amazing. Wow.
Mostly shite though,
it's not worth having, but it's all in the cloud, so you can have it.
If I say a seventh of this, I'll be lucky, to be honest.
But the notes for Star Wars A New Hope are not in the cloud. They're in the hands of someone somewhere, or still in my little folder somewhere.
Yeah, they could be in someone's clutches. I don't suppose to know the mental state of everyone who has bought a Cinema Swirl t-shirt in the past.
No.
But there could be someone who did that in a nefarious manner, in which case they would, in fact, be in their clutches at that point in time.
Now, to clarify with the t-shirts thing, Kevin's got the classic OG. I've got the Fizzy Bastards t-shirt, Kevin.
What's that, Sam? Have you wore the special t-shirt that shows that you're a slightly more committed version of a fan than other people? Is that... Is that what you've done at the Blink-182 concert?
Yes, I have. I'm one of the true fans.
Because if you're rocking up to see Blur live, you're not just wearing a regular Blur the album t-shirt now, are you?
No. You're wearing like...
Furry Bastards or something like that,
This is for the real fans. Yours is for it's kind of become a brand, Cinema Swirl. You see it in Primark now. They have like Cinema Swirl. I think some of the kids nowadays, they couldn't name an episode of Cinema Swirl, but they'll wear the t-shirt willy-nilly, which is fine.
Yeah, if you are wearing a Cinema Swirl t-shirt out in public, I will come up to you and say, name 10 episodes. The fun thing is, I love this t-shirt, right? And it's really nice, and I do wear it around the house a lot. But it is a t-shirt that I'm slightly sheepish to wear outside of the house.
Because it's got a picture of you on it.
Because it's got a picture of me on it.
Yeah.
And now, currently, I'm mustache, so it's like, who's this guy? I don't know. But when I look more like the caricature, I am slightly gun-shy at wearing this t-shirt. Because their major question is, Who's the other fella then? Where is he?
Who's your little mate? Where's he? I think we should both walk around wearing it together and stand. I'll go on the left, you go on the right, and then people will understand what we are.
And then we'll go, oi, I'm with Swirl, yeah?
I'll grow my hair out a bit, sweep it to the side, and shave my little beard a bit more, and then we're fine. Kevin, I'm wearing the Fizzy Bastards t-shirt, Kevin, because I like Pepsi Max.
Hey, he does.
Which brings me nicely... Wait a minute, it's the post-swirl. Which brings me nicely to another installment of Pepsi Swirl. Kevin, we're back with another edition of Pepsi Swirl.
10 years. 10 years.
In the words of Stained, it's been a while, but I now have got a new Pepsi product that has come out onto the market recently.
Isn't that nice to know that in 10 years worth of Cinema Swirl, that Pepsi are still on the ball, still innovating, huh?
They're still doing it, and I bring to you Pepsi Electric. That's Pepsi Electric.
This is a blue drink that I'm going to spoil the outcome of this segment. I surmise will taste exactly the same as Pepsi.
We're going to do a condensed version of Pepsi Swirl here. I'm going to drink it. I'm going to find out what it tastes like. I've not tried this before.
Now, are you just going right into that bottle? Remember back in the day when this lad would have a glass and ice and all that? Is that even refrigerated?
Yeah, it's come from the fridge.
Wait, hold that up a second. Have you had a sip already?
No, it's sealed, Your Honour. It's actually sealed at the top. That is fully sealed. I've not had a sip. You just get less for your money these days because of government.
Because of government. Because of Big Blue. That's what's going on there.
But to be clear, Pepsi Electric is a blue drink. It's sort of Pepsi but blue, and we've tried Pepsi Blue. This is not Pepsi Blue.
We did have Pepsi Blue, right? But Electric is different from Blue. You have to tell me right now, on the back of it, how does it describe itself? Please tell me it says it has electric natural flavouring.
0 sugar.
Wait, so this is technically Pepsi Max Electric then?
Yeah.
Right?
It says Pepsi Electric 0 sugar. So it's not Pepsi Max Electric, according to the branding. There is no marketing blurb. There is no wackaging.
Wow.
There's no fun piece of copy here.
Sorry, what was that word?
Wackaging. Wacky packaging where it's like, hey man, drink some fucking Pepsi, dude.
Was that an established known term?
Yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing. That's a thing. Look it up, man.
I just thought a lightning bolt shaped bottle would have been really good for this.
Pretty much the same as. I'm gonna go straight in. We're not gonna waste much time. This has come out the fridge, and you'll notice I'm doing this segment early so that it stays cold.
And for those of you who are listening at home as well, Sam has informed me multiple times that it is hot where he is right now.
It's hot where I am, or it's hot in this room.
You might be getting, I'm gonna call it, a biased glug rating coming forward.
Can I get silence in the Cinema Swirl studio, please, for the special noise?
I'm actually going to hit mute on my microphone.
Don't do it. Don't. No,
that was a bad idea. Why would I do that? That's a bad idea. It's going to cause problems. That's all that's going to do is cause problems.
Don't close the lid. Don't mute the mic. Don't do any of this. Right. Silence, please. That was a bit weak.
That was a struggle, Sam.
Oh, it smells fruity. That smells like lemon cleaning stuff.
Oh, no, it looks like that. Don't tell me it smells like that.
Right, here we go. I'm going to have a little go on this.
Lemon is the most electric fruit, though, if you think about it.
Is there a thing where you can make a battery out of a lemon, or is that potato? Yeah.
And I think, I'm not basing this on anything like science, but I reckon that I could pick up a lemon and perhaps get a static shock.
Yeah?
Yeah.
If you rubbed it on enough plastic or something.
I've got the beard on, I'm getting shocked by a lemon, that's all I'm saying.
Because I'm on camera, I'm doing the advertiser thing of facing up. I'm putting the logo at the front here. You can see that this is Pepsi.
Yes, so we can hear the soda more clearly.
Okay, here we go.
Sip away. Oh, that's not a good facial expression whatsoever. That is worrying. That a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, but does a spoonful of electric help the blue go down?
Hold on, listeners.
Oh, is he just kayfabing me? He's gonna fucking love it, of course. Come on.
That's rank. That's not...
Really?
It tastes like cleaning products. It tastes
wow,
really...
it tastes of it as well.
It's citrusy. It's maybe got a bit of orange in it and lemon. And so it tastes like... Right, Fanta did this whole, like, guess the mystery flavour thing about 2 years ago that was also blue. I think this is that runoff. This doesn't taste like cola.
I like as well that you said it's the same thing. It's the runoff of that. As in, everyone opened their bottles, poured them down the sink, and then some intrepid Pepsi marketing man gathered the fluid in a large bowl and redistributed it.
It's got a nasty, perfumey aftertaste.
And just so people know, you're
crap.
you're on Pepsi on the reg currently, right?
Yeah, I'm on regular Pepsi Max, full on. I'm back on.
A 2 can a day, man?
Yeah, I'm the rest, mate.
A 3 can a day, man?
Yeah, I'm the rest, mate. I'm the rest.
A 5 can a day, man?
Look, some days I lose count, and that's all right. And I drink a lot of cola.
I am very well aware there's those of you who are listening who, like me, remembered the point when this stopped being a film podcast and started being a decade-long rescue mission. But tune in for episode 121, The Intervention.
Cinema Swirl actually has a sort of relapse coded into it. Like it's already I've gone back into it. I'm back into Pepsi. We had the moment where I was like, I'm quitting and I'm only having caffeine free, or I'm not having it at all. But I'm fully back, and this is disgusting, this stuff.
I think we could take some solace in the fact that at least you're not so addicted that anything with a Pepsi label on it, he is drinking it, though. As soon as I say that, he is going back for more.
It's making my little mustache blue.
It is, yes.
That's fun. Is it making my tongue blue?
It is.
Yeah.
I think it's not helping the fact that you've got a very slightly blue light, but anyway... What's your glug rating, Sam? What's your glug rating?
1 glug? This is rubbish. One glug is crap. It's rank. It's not Pepsi. That's just some other drink that they put the Pepsi logo on. That's
a shame that we've started off this new decade of renewal with honestly a disappointment there.
I'm conscious we haven't talked about Star Wars yet.
We've not talked about Star Wars, no, because we're having a 10-year spectacular and doing whatever we want, basically, currently.
Are we allowed to never talk about Star Wars?
I would like to bring up a few points from having listened to the episode and having watched the movie. I will say, obviously, off the bat, another phrase that we like, is that it is still very much a super fun movie. And obviously, I don't think any amount of watching that can maybe take that away. Unlike some other movies, maybe, I feel that perhaps repeat viewings aren't as enjoyable. I do want to know if your experience of watching a second time was any way different, because you have now watched not just the prequel trilogy and reviewed them, the other Star Wars movies from the original trilogy, and you have, of course, watched a sequel trilogy, one of which we reviewed on our new series, Cinema over on the Patreon page. Did the enormity of the Star Wars universe, as you now have experienced it, change watching Humble New Hope?
So what I would say is that, interestingly, because I've watched all these other Star Wars films, I've watched the new Star Wars films and the new Star Wars films.
The new news.
The pace of this first one and the patience of it and the generous exposition and introduction of characters and motivations and places.
Very nice. It's very nice. Very helpful. Very helpful.
It's very gentle, and you forget there was a time when no one knew what Star Wars was, and this was their first ever Star Wars, and no one knew what it was. And the film eases you in, takes its time. Not that much. Well, I mean, a lot happens, but like it happens quite slowly.
Over the course of 2 and odd minutes out. That doesn't work. Why does it work when I do it?
Over the course of that time, it patiently introduces you to the world of Star Wars, and I think it does it very well.
I do believe it's a triumph in that sense. I don't think there's any other world that we've been introduced to that did, like, there was none of the confusion when we talked about Star Wars at any point, it felt like, compared to, I mean, Lord of the Rings. It feels like the exposition there, I thought, was generous, but in perhaps it's too generous for your gentle sensibilities.
I didn't feel any like, who's that and what are they doing and why are they going there? This is like, here's the baddies, here's the goodies, his family's been killed, let's go get the baddies.
There are some important things that I feel the need to share that I didn't get to talk about the first time we did this, which is how unusual Darth Vader is in the very early sequence in this movie. He's not really Darth Vader, is he? He's
he talks loads.
He's really chatty, isn't he? He is. He loves a natter, does our Darth. Yeah. Good Lord Almighty. And also, like, just his temperament is really funny. Like, he randomly shouts at the end of sentences where he's like, take her away. He doesn't do that. Or when he says stuff like, if this is a consular ship, where is the ambassador? Then maybe you shouldn't be living here.
But hey, at the start of Cinema Swirl, we didn't sound the same as we do now.
That's true.
We've grown into how we sounded. So has Darth Vader. And in a way, I can relate.
Yeah, because I would always be like, let's go do a Cinema Swirl. Take it away. I very much feel that C-3PO is perhaps the best character in Star Wars for the widest audience. Because I loved him so much as a child. He was my absolute fave. When we reviewed it the first time and all throughout the series, you found him a relatable fellow, and his tragic presence lifted the spirit of any scene that he was in. When we were watching Force Awakens, Joe walked in when it was the scene where he's like, oh, I've got a red arm. And she's like, I'm going to cry if he talks about his red... He's everything to everyone, it feels like.
Kevin, he's one of the few characters that makes me proud to be British, because he's a very British character. That's an Englishman, is C-3PO. Like, he's a full-on, like, English sad character.
But, like, are there people who are like, oh, C-3, like, you know, because I feel there's very few Britons who everyone in the United Kingdom would be like, he's one of us. And I've always been fascinated by what ye reject and what ye embrace. But C-3PO could be a force for good, or dare I say evil, if he was embraced wholeheartedly.
You know what's mad is that I think I remarked on this when we first watched it, but at the start, there's two C-3POs. There's like another lad knocking about. The first time we ever see C-3PO and R2-D2, there's another one just like beep, boop, boop, in the background. It could have all been so different.
Could have all been so different as well if Disney listened to the will of the people and gave us some of the obvious series here. There's chat of Imperial Senate throughout the early goings of this movie. Where is my Imperial Senate series? No, not following Imperial Senators. I'm talking about the aides, the staffers, the lobbyists. I want the thick of it, but based on Coruscant.
Has there been an inquiry in Star Wars canon?
I mean, there has to have been in the prequels. It feels like that's rife with inquiry-adjacent politics and whatnot.
Kevin, a technical question, which I don't know the answer to. Was 4K a thing when we started Cinema Swirl? I don't think it was for us.
Not for us. Not for us normies.
Yeah.
4K is something I remember when I moved to Manchester and I was looking for a television then, was when I first saw 4K, which means it probably existed a few years prior to that. But I did say beforehand that I was going to try and watch old version of the movie. And
yeah, did you?
I had this really strong feeling that somewhere on Disney Plus you could do that. No.
That only exists for regular format episodes of The Simpsons. That's what you're thinking of. You can watch the 4x3 Simpsons. Yeah, that's the only
yes, that's all it was. Damn it. I mean, it was jarring at points. I've never been on board with the people who are like the purists of wanting no changes whatsoever, because I thought that was unreasonable. And mainly because me, 1997, when this came out in the cinema, it enchanted me. That's what I'm nostalgic for.
Yeah.
The same way all those poor souls are nostalgic for the new Star Wars movies. And we'll all have to deal with that as pensioners.
Yeah.
But like, there has to be a middle ground between it looking like owled and like proper owled, mouth agape owled, and whatever this is, because it's really, really uneven currently.
So in the harsh light of 4K, these special effects are the latter days CGI from George Lucas having another go. It looks particularly ropey, and I'm surprised that they haven't had another go as part of Disney Plus. But George doesn't have a handle on this anymore, does it? He's not involved in Star Wars.
I think what it is very much a situation where it's like kind of a scab that you've picked at too many times. And it's like, look, I know that we all can agree that a good picking is what this scab really ultimately needs right now.
Yes.
But we are under strict orders to not touch it anymore, because if we do, everyone's going to be upset at you.
But we're left in this place where it's old, but new old.
But not proper new. It's like weird new. It's like not all the way there new. And I watched it both on my Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, and it was no improvement on either. It looked the same.
I need to share with you one of my notes. I can't remember if we said in the old days that C-3PO walks like he's pooed his pants, but I think that's one of his endearing qualities.
I think the hubris of all the characters in the early goings of the Star Wars saga is very adorable. Whether it be Darth Vader saying, "There'll be no one to stop us this time," or C-3PO affirmatively stating, "That's it, no more adventures."
No more adventures.
No more.
20 minutes into the film. We don't know that these characters have adventures.
That's me on like day 2 of a holiday after going on one trip. All right, that's it. No more adventures. I'm just going to sit down and eat pizza now.
We did talk about the first time we watched this that it's very funny that Luke is meant to be like a little boy doing his chores and living with his aunt and uncle, and he's like a young lad.
He's a free spirit. That's why he wants to go down to Tashi Station to get some power converters. And they're like, all right, you can have fun on your own time. Like, I know we all want to go down and get like a big transformer or whatever it is that you're after there, son. Yep. He is meant to be a lad.
A lad.
A lad.
Han Solo calls him kid all the time. Like,
he does.
Here we go, kid. To me, they're the same age in my mind, like those two characters.
Oh, no.
I know the character, the actual actors are different.
No. But even character-wise, Sam, you can't be a young scoundrel. That wouldn't do. That's impossible. That's impossible. No. You have to be a certain age to be a scoundrel, otherwise you're just cheeky.
Can you please do your noise of the sand people? Because...
Wait, now, which one? When you say sand people, do you mean the Jawas or do you mean the Tuscan Raiders? Because you got confused about this before, and I don't mean to ascribe laissez-faire Star Wars fan attitudes to you, but I think anything with a funny voice in the desert, you're going to tell me he's a sand people. Do you mean...
Yeah. Them ones. Who are they?
Them ones.
Are they Jawas or are they sand people?
No, they're sand people.
Right, yeah.
AKA Tuscan Raiders, who, I have to say...
Oh, nice bag of Tuscan Raiders. Oh. Yeah.
You can't even get Tuscan Raiders after Brexit. Like, they don't get the ingredients for them anymore. It's ridiculous. I was... really enjoyed the scenes with Tuscan Raiders because I've obviously seen the Book of Boba Fett season 1 on DVD, and as a result of that, I wonder if you can get it on DVD. As a result of that, there is a lengthy sequence involving the Tuscan Raiders and the craft of their weaponry and their culture and their trees and children. So you might think I just did a funny bit for you.
Yeah.
I was flowing with Tuscan Raider knowledge right there.
Is the Book of Boba Fett a TV series?
Yes, and I suspect at one point it was going to be a shit movie.
Right. But I think the issue with calling your TV series The Book of Boba Fett is you're ruling yourself out of a novelization. Because if
know, that's so low expectations.
The novel of The Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, right? The novelization of The Book of Boba Fett didn't really get off the ground, did it?
Kevin, I said I was going to pepper in some questions, and I'm going to pepper in a question here from John.
Pepper away, please.
Sam has his Pepsi Max. Kevin has his sausage rolls. What food or beverage would you both enjoy? Is it Tiffin?
It might be Tiffin. I mean, you could fucking demolish a brick of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if you get any sort of chocolate biscuit combination from me and Sam Chaplin, we'll do fucking dirty business to that.
Yes.
I believe that you enjoyed when I made you falafel, I think, last time you were here.
You did, and it was very nice and very healthy and very nourishing and delicious.
No, it's not. That's the funny thing he's saying. It's deep healthy. Fried.
It feels like, okay, so it's got like a kind of healthy halo that made me think I was eating healthily.
It's like voting for a political party, man. It seems like it's good, but it's actually wicked gross.
Looking back at 2014, I think I can nominate the disgusting Papa John's, the yellow garlic. I'm going to call it the garlic chip. The garlic cum.
Yeah. Actually, you know what it's more like? It's not like cum because he hasn't got that consistency, and I think we all look. It's new decade, new rules. Let's just be honest with everyone here.
It's
not that. What it is it's Warhammer paint. That's what that Papa John's dipping sauce is.
That right, as someone whose brother was mad into Warhammer 40,000,
same quantity as well.
That is so accurate. Wow, yeah, it's Warhammer paint. It's that delicious garlicky Warhammer paint.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. Sam and I are both, said before, both dogs who will eat any old garbage, you know?
Yes. Apart from Pepsi Electric, which is fucking... Oh, that was bad. What a shame that that's the Pepsi Swirl we did for the 10th anniversary. When will Murder with a Gird of the long-awaited debut single of Raging Waters be released? That's from Jodie.
I like that you had, a couple of years back, you collated almost every iteration of us baking into impromptu song into a special... it was on Bandcamp, wasn't it?
Yes.
But I do think that perhaps at some point... because I feel we do still have a penchant for breaking out into inexplicable song, that maybe we need a volume 2, brackets, parentheses, Murder with a Girder.
But I think these should be... So, you know, like The Simpsons released some tapes and stuff, and some of them were like songs from the show. But one of them, or at least maybe two of them, were like original songs just
Simpsons Sing the Blues.
Yeah, or the Yellow Album was one.
Yeah, we had a couple, I think, and then there was Sounds of Springfield and stuff like that, which was just the score and the comedy songs,
So I think we need to write some
I see.
songs.
I like this. Yes.
I was going to say album, but I'm guessing more of an EP, an extended play.
Released on special mini CD that won't fit in any of your players.
Oh, right. When do you think mini discs are going to become the kind of like trendy hipster thing to have?
Sam, I think it may have been passed over in favour of Juicy Couture. I think that we've skipped a whole genre of nostalgia in lieu of comfort. That's all.
That was a mad day when I realised that was back. I was like, wait a minute. What?
You woke up one day and you thought you had time travelled. Was that it?
What the fuck is going on? I mean, great, but...
Hey, look, if you at home have a Juicy Couture tracksuit, take out a flip phone anywhere and you will convince at least one person that they're a time traveller.
Someone will freak out. If you're the first person they've seen that day, that's going to be mad for them. Speaking of, like, things that we like to eat...
Yes.
One more question from Jay, who says, it isn't a question, but some time ago, you had a bunch of cursed food items based on movies. And Jay saying that they've had cheesy honey.
Very good.
Floating around in my brain ever since. It's honey mixed with melted cheese, dip something in it. I don't know. Anyway, now I can rest peacefully.
Papa John's might be interested. I'm not sure.
And Jay says, bless y'all, and the show, it's been a fave among me and my cat. And I like the idea of a cat listening to Cinema Swirl. That makes me
that's good to
very
know.
happy.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jay, for that. Not a question, but the mention of cheesy honey.
Cheesy honey.
Which is available now at Papa John's, but it's not as good as the garlic Warhammer paint.
Yes, I think they are interested and they're rolling that out nationwide as we speak. Luke Skywalker, more like Fluke Skywalker, am I right? It's amazing this guy became a hero at all. And him meeting Obi-Wan Kenobi is obviously a fine iconic moment in Star Wars canon. But Jesus Christ, I'll tell you what, that Obi-Wan Kenobi miniseries was playing havoc on me here. I felt routinely punished throughout this for being a good Star Wars fan.
I felt rewarded for not really caring that much, and it was just, a bit of fun.
They've really not interfered, but heavily done something right before this bit, which makes it feel like you can't just do this bit now. Spoilers for Obi-Wan Kenobi, by the way.
In the series, they sneak something in, just before this meeting.
They do this big adventure, and then it's and now to go meet Luke at the end.
Right, okay.
I would not recommend watching that series if you plan on watching this again.
Is it still Ewan McGregor playing Obi-Wan even when old?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you think if Ewan McGregor met classic Obi-Wan and had to talk to him about in his accent, do you think he'd be really embarrassed? think he was glad that Alec Guinness was dead when he started doing that.
I think he said that in an interview, hasn't he? He said, I'm glad he's dead. He hasn't said that. Kevin.
Sam?
Have we actually watched Star Wars The Clone Wars together?
No, because I do believe you brought it up in the original.
This is before we had Cinema Swirl. This is before Cinema Swirl existed. We got to do that. We have got to do that. It's going to put a crimp in our day, but my word, we need to watch Star Wars The Clone Wars.
Oh, yeah, shit. I've literally written down here my notes. So we're reviewing The Clone Wars next then. Oh, no! Did you notice as well that Obi-Wan Kenobi, far from being conflicted about the nature of his relationship to Anakin Skywalker, Luke's father, he almost felt like here he was buzzing to tell him something. He was like, oh yeah, I heard you used to, he did this freight job with my father during the Clone Wars. And he's like, huh, is that what he told you then? Oh, I'm not interfering now.
He kind of relishes having spoilers in his back pocket, essentially.
Has the phrase, is that what he's told you? Has that ever been employed with anything other than, I know that's not the case and I'm going to unleash it upon you?
It's so hard to watch this without the foreknowledge of who Luke's father is and all that kind of stuff. Like, I will never, no one probably will ever be able to watch this again and not know what's happening there.
Does it feel like a different experience this time? Because before it was like, okay, I know the names and I know it's a big franchise. You know that Lucas is, I am your father.
Yeah.
But like watching it this time, did Ewan McGregor sync up with Alec Guinness here? Did the guy you saw, saying, you are the chosen one?
Well,
is that the same guy? Like, how cohesive is it as an actual film series for you, the newer fan?
This one definitely feels different. I was going to say less Star Warsy, but maybe the other stuff feels less Star Warsy than Star Wars. Although Force Awakens, which we've watched over on Cinema, feels quite similar to this in terms of structure and stuff that goes on and locations.
Yeah, I feel it's less of a rush than Force Awakens. Like there is, as you said, there's generous exposition. Anytime something exciting happens, we go somewhere pretty low key just to chill out and talk about some of the extra bits and bobs. And you find out in one sequence, everything from the Jedi to the Empire to Luke's backstory to Obi's backstory to the Clone Wars. It's done without giving you 100 pounds of shit crammed into your head in 2 seconds. It's admirably done. And dare I say that the writing in the earlier Star Wars is probably better than maybe it's been given credit for.
It's more, again, kind of patient and forgiving, and
it doesn't have the knowledge of knowing it's got a legion of fans who are going to love it anyway immediately,
No.
It feels it has to try put on its shiny shoes a little bit and do its little dance for you.
Oh, speaking of doing your little dance.
That's when we went into Crazy Town and the CGI. We went to Mos Eisley. It stank. It looks so bad.
He's layered on so much shit here. It seems unnecessary.
I felt like the press X to skip button was going to come up at some point.
Yes.
It felt very much like an unnecessary cutscene of points because it had no real bearing other than they're like, here we are in Mos Eisley. But it's like, you get that when you go into the canteen because it's full of weird guys.
Yeah.
And at least they're all authentically weird guys. I like that a lot.
These aren't the droids you're looking for, but maybe these ones are that I can see now coming across the screen. And it's just some other guys it's weird how much he's layered up here with CGI stuff. Anytime there's space.
It was done to sell toys, and as a man who had, as a child, both the robot who hits the little flying robot and his little set of iron rods, and the little monster that the Jawas were on that would and so, what
so
shit
much Star Wars
toys
stuff just goes.
I know, but it's there for half a second, so you obviously want to play with this. It's what a shit toy. It's so crap.
The cantina music is beautiful. I forget that I hear that out and about sometimes. Not out and about. Just in the real world, you hear that. And I forget that that's Star Wars music.
Dare I say, Sam, it's the Cinema Swirl theme of the Star Wars universe. That's how much I love the theme that you did. Because it's got a little bit of bounciness. It's hummable. Speaking of humming, It was close to what you did when I asked you to do this 10 years ago.
Yeah.
An impersonation of Chewbacca. You have had a decade. You have had to study him in 1, 2, 5, 6 other movies. So
Right.
give it to me. Don't drink that fucking poison.
Let me just have a swig of disgusting blue drink to get me ready for this. Oh, fuck, that's so bad.
What was that going to do other than that? All right, hang on now. So Sam's going to do this now.
Why? All right, this is Chewbacca from Star Wars.
Why are you doing a Chewbacca impersonation?
Here we go. Chewbacca from Star Wars.
Okay.
Oh no, that.
That's a lot better than we had before.
Oh, that's the ship, isn't it? That's kind of the.
You're a lot better, but it feels like you're not coming from. It's a. It's a. You want to connect the back of your throat to your diaphragm, you know, in one seamless. If you need to yawn, you can go. The yawn helps.
Okay. Oh, that's just me. That's just it.
That's just you yawning.
Actually. No, that's.
We've come a long way from.
I'm worried these noises I'm making are going to dislodge some other part of my body and cause problems. Like I'm worried something's going to come loose if I keep going.
I'm worried these noises that you're making are going to give us one hell of an automatic chapter generated from Spotify. Inaudible groans. Spotify
AI. This one is simply called Sam's accurate Chewbacca impression. Spotify
There you
AI.
go.
This is Sam's improved accurate Chewbacca impression.
Sam's Chewbacca impersonation. He's made a few changes.
Which brings us neatly to our sponsor, DogPass. Thanks to DogPass for always supporting us. You can take your dog out and about, and if you see another dog and the dog has DogPass, you'll get a notification on your phone.
That's true.
To give you details of that other dog. So that you can see what the dog is up to.
You'll get a seed for your dog's garden as well to cross-pollinate.
Yes, make sure you head to dog.pass and enter the code.
It's actually dog.dog now is what it actually is. We've streamlined.
Dog.dog. Head to dog.dog.
Look, you go up there, it's www.dog.g/do.g.
And enter the code SWIRL, that's SWIRL, for 20% off your first dog pass.
Dog pass.
Dog.
Your first dog.
Thank you to DogPass. So that should come neatly after Sam's accurate Chewbacca impression.
The Jabba the Hutt scene is still the worst scene in the movie. I think we can agree on that.
Right. Let's drill down into this. I don't think we went into enough detail at the time. What happened here? Was it a bloke originally? Was it just a guy?
Yeah.
Was Jabba just a guy?
It was a guy. He was a guy. That's why he even has the line, "You're a wonderful human being." You know, that's why he says
that.
that.
Out. They kept that
take
in.
it out. Because he thought it was funny that as a scoundrel he would say that to an alien.
You're a wonderful human being. You're a wonderful slug thing. That's what you should
It's a hut. Thank you.
You're a wonderful hut, which is what I say when I leave my second favourite pizza establishment. Thanks, Josh. You're a wonderful hut.
Look out, Paddy. He's good in for the work.
It's in fairness, Pizza Hut is probably number 8, I reckon, in terms of maybe further down. There's some
Might be
good.
higher than that. Might be higher than you think. You know, got a lot of positive childhood birthday party memories from the hut.
Oh, the lunchtime buffet.
Come on.
Wow. What an occasion. The ice cream machine. My God.
Do you ever said when you and I, when we were doing, I think we did stand up in Leicester once together. We went into Pizza Hut, and it was we were the only 2 people in the entire place.
Yes.
It was for the buffet. The entire place was filthy. No tables had been cleared. There was like one kind of teenager behind the cash register on their phone who barely looked up when we arrived.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you're not You're not going to stop us from reliving our glory days. And that was very much the day the music died in terms of the Pizza Hut buffet experience.
Yes.
Surrounded by flies in an empty Leicester Pizza Hut.
We should have let the memory be, but...
We should have. We were greedy for nostalgia, is what we were.
The Jabba thing is weird, and the scene is not necessary because everything...
Hang on a second, Sam. I just have to walk over here.
It's fucking weird, man.
It doesn't go up that high. Don't do it.
Doesn't work.
Like, you could pretend... Like, he's a 3D image.
Yeah.
Move him forward. Have him walk further back around him so you don't have to go, like, it's awful.
It's bad, and it doesn't really do anything other than make you go, oh, it's Jabba the Hutt from the other ones.
I've really felt offended as, like, a mover and a shaker. I'm like, well, I move all the time and I don't do it like that. How dare you?
It's just properly weird. Also, that comes not long after Hand Shot First, which I'd said at the time, so fucking overblown as a thing that...
Storm in a teacup, Sam. Storm in a teacup.
Alderaan is destroyed.
Oh.
Yeah.
I still think, we talked about it in Force Awakens, no one fucking sells it in Force Awakens, and they blow up 5 planets. Leia literally goads him into doing it.
Yeah.
She's like, come on, you smelly old bastard.
It's kind of a problem with Star Wars that the scale of destruction of that and loss of life.
I shouldn't feel sadder for an Ewok going, than I do for an entire planet being wiped out.
It just doesn't connect in the way that it should.
What you need to happen is you need to have the planet get shot by the Death Star, and then the planet goes, and then another little planet goes, and then I'd be fucking bawling.
So with BB-8 and with R2-D2, they have experience of making circles have emotions. And
That's
so
true.
Just do that with the planet.
Easy.
Just make the planet go...
As the Death Star laser beam is going past our planet, it can go, wah! You know, easy. Sneak an Utini in there. A Wilhelm screen. It could be a funny planet dying.
The claymation chessboard is fucking rad, but
In it.
doesn't make sense necessarily.
Why does it not make sense? They would not have games in this universe.
I'm arguing against retrofuturism stuff, which I shouldn't because it's one of my favourite things.
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
I don't like claymation still, but...
Oh, of course you don't like the claymation. And they're all horrible little guys as well, aren't they? And you probably think of them as being small little guys who'll crawl in your ears and pull on your brain.
And clay could get in your ear because it's malleable. Oh, fucking rank.
I know there's some of you out there who are like always sending Sam long plays of Clayfire 63 and a third, and I think you guys are the scum of the earth, if I'm quite honest, the scum of the earth.
So what I was, I suppose, arguing there was that the claymation doesn't make sense as an art style, but actually it could just be them putting a retro art style into their fun hologram game. And we do stuff like that. There was literally a game that came out like 2 months ago that was like, it's entirely claymation, but it's boring as hell. But it's like every character and every model has been made of clay and then scanned in. But it's really very dull. It's an impressive feat. And so I think that's what they've done there. That's fine. Kevin, it's time. Okay, Peloton. Stretch out with your feelings. It's time to... Come on, guys. Stretch out with... I don't know what a Peloton is.
I thought this had taken some sort of a very strange turn here where Sam was a Peloton guy and I didn't even realize it.
I've been cycling this whole time. That's why I sound so weird. No.
That's why I never could see your lower half. You're pumping away.
I've got one of those cycle desks where I can... No, I don't have that.
I've got a standing cycle desk where I both stand up and cycle at the same time. So I have to actually... I'm horizontal relative to the position of the wall. So I am fully stood up, but I'm also cycling up against that too. And I have to do it at a great pace to maintain my equilibrium.
Kevin, you could admit that it's a unicycling desk. That's fine. You're allowed to say that.
That's what the haters call them in Silicon Valley. Fine. Fine.
But there's something about stretch out with your feelings that feels more appropriate now in this time of, you know, mindfulness and men's mental health.
I'm pretty sure that I've done yoga where I've been told to stretch out with my feelings.
Stretch out with your feeling. It's a good way of expressing what the Force is about, actually.
The Force coming along before the popularization of mindfulness and meditation and yoga and things like that probably helped it seeming mystic as fuck, because you're like, whoa. Imagine thinking.
Yeah. Stretch out with your feelings. Reach out to your mates.
With your eyes closed as well? What?
I think it sells what the Force is.
Yeah.
Really well, really neatly, and I'm sorry for laughing at it in the past.
Well, that's all right. Everyone starts off like a Han Solo being like, I love guns. And then it's actually like stretched out with your feelings. Ain't such a bad way.
Stormtroopers, Kevin, are such a good, easy way to sneak in characters that we know anonymously into a place. Like, they're a good disguise thing because they're completely covered from head to toe.
Yeah, a bit of a, I don't know, oversight, I guess, is it?
Yeah, like anyone could fake it. And also, all the Stormtroopers are like just lads, and you see some of them having like little conversations and stuff. They are just some lads. So it's not even like they move in a specific trained way.
I follow a lot of people on Twitter who are a lot more engaged in Star Wars fandom, i.e. they see a lot of the crazy stuff and comment on it and how insane it all is. And like, there's a lot of people who've complained that in the more recent Star Wars offerings, the Imperial baddies, there's been a lot more diversity there.
Right.
And it truly is the rock in the hard place, because people are saying, in essence, that they want more authentic space Nazis, because that is what they are.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to report, if you do want that, you can go back to this movie that, even with CG, has got a very old white, exclusively British Imperial lineup in the upper chambers.
There's one American guy, but he gets choked the fuck out by the Force. Like, everyone else is like, Lord Vader, we don't need to... And one guy's like, hey, howdy, y'all, Lord Vader.
And the guy's like, with
choked.
the firepower of this new battle station and the limestone and the hydroelectric dam, I'm like, mate, it's the same as the field. You're going to get choked by the biggest, baddest dude on the land, and it's Darth Vader. It's his land. I've
realised that both in the original watching of this and in my now watching of this, I've remarked that all baddies are English. They are. It's just, that's who we are.
As time has went on, right? And I think there was a period in the 90s where like, we'll just make all the Russians baddies. And there's a period in the 90s where like, let's just all make Middle Eastern people all the baddies. And then it's like, look, just make take it from me, an Irishman. We've been doing it for years. It fits very well. Ask most English people, they'll agree.
Yeah, we're the baddies, you know? And that's fine. We're trying to rescue Leia, and we've got Leia. And then there's a bit where they fall into a sort of sewer garbage chute hatch, which...
Yes!
Watching it now feels a little bit CBBC. There's something about it that's like...
I get you. I think there's often high camera angle, shaky room. That could have been the Demon Headmaster. I was wondering your thought process on 3PO here, who leads them into near ruin by the fact that he hasn't turned on the communicator. And R2 is like, would you not kill them, please? And he's like, oh, the communicator. And he's like, I'm at disposal, C-3PO. And he does. But what do you think would have happened if C-3PO had a lapse in judgment and let all of his friends get killed? Do you think he would have lived with himself?
He would have gone, oh no, what a terrible shame. Oh well, no more adventures. Oh God, I'm such a silly Billy.
And he's probably like, could someone wipe my mind, please? I've too much trauma. Because he goes for that, doesn't he? He's always getting his fucking mind wiped. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but with C-3PO, because he killed all of the Rebel Alliance in its early days. It'd be a lot more of an easy watch than Jim Carrey, is all I'm saying.
Pitch it to Disney. You never know.
On.
Like, they're,
Come on.
They'll take it.
Disney, have I got a bad batch of movie ideas for you?
Right, two things. I like pointing out the things that have always been in place on Cinema Swirl. And one of them is you sharing gross, visual, strong images around poo-based imagery that really your description is so visceral when it comes to poo things. And there was something you said in the episode that it looks like someone's made a stock out of poo. And that's such a horrible, horrible image.
It's funny because in an episode of It's Raw that we recorded very recently, Joe, independently of that, commented that something that we saw was like that. I was literally like, that's off.
Oh, no.
No. But I feel like under the right circumstances, i.e. on this podcast, you know, I could probably I still got a few of them in me. And I don't just mean the poos, I mean the descriptions of them.
Poo with a bone in it. You know, it's
stuff like that.
Stuff like that you keep doing, and it's always really gross, but kind of impressively disgusting. Like, I'm very proud of how well you disgust me.
If I ever disgusted you more than I impressed you, I would stop.
But that's the thing. It's always impressive. Fascinatingly, you mentioned dander, which is just a coincidence, but also I love...
Stanley's dander being up! Wow!
Yeah, well, you talk about actual dander, like the stuff in carpets or... Yeah.
That's because I did so much research on Demodex back in my zoology days.
But I was just fascinated that, like, oh yeah, dander! Like, it's that's there in episode 1, and now it's here in these episodes.
I'll tell you right now, that's a cracking word, dander. I fucking love dander.
Got your dander up.
Got your dander up.
This was back in the Miles the Cat days.
What would happen if Miles the cat and Stanley the dog met? You knew both. Hypothetical scenario, please.
An absolute fucking dander fest. Like,
shit
everyone's
show.
dander is getting up and no one's coming out of that unscathed.
Who's taking the lead here? Is Stanley removing himself from the situation, or is he going to bark at Miles? Is Miles going to roll over and take that?
They're both lads who fancy themselves as a bigger animal than they are. So I think they would both give it a good fucking go.
They both be on the strepsils afterwards, is what we're saying.
I'm, in a way, glad they never met, because it would have been a disaster.
Because you know Stanley would have barked himself red raw if he did.
Yes, he would have done.
I think, I could be wrong, and I say this now with full admission, when I re-listened to this episode, I did re-listen to it while playing Lego The Hobbit with Joe, which obviously is the best way to experience the Hobbit story. From my point of view.
Sure.
You know how there's like kind of I said there's a Mahon cut of Les Mis. The Mahon cut of The Hobbit is The Hobbit for PlayStation 3. But while I was listening to it, I couldn't help but notice that I think I didn't even say what my favourite part in the movie is. It's around this point in the movie. My favourite part.
Tell me what your favourite part is, please, Kevin.
It's when Han Solo runs towards loads of stormtroopers going...
Yeah, that's fun.
And then sees them and goes, oh... Great stuff.
Great stuff from Han.
The hubris of the man, the silliness of the face, the brazenness of it all. It's basically the best bit of any Star Wars movie. Fight me in the comments on cinemaswirl.com/comments.
Han Solo's funnier than I remember him being.
He is so fucking charming. I think he loses a bit of it because he becomes more serious in the later movies.
Yeah.
Because he becomes more of a leader. But when he's all like, money's great, you know, that's fun. I like that.
Yeah. You've got an English character, C-3PO, driven by shame, and you've got an American character, Han Solo, driven by money. And those dynamics work fabulously well. I would say that the blaster battle on the non-extended bridge with the stormtrooper falling off doing the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, the Wilhelm scream where he goes, and he falls off the edge.
That's, to me, iconic Star Wars shit. That's what Star Wars looks like. This bit that is Star Wars.
It fucking took him long enough, didn't it? Jesus Christ. They were like, it took him longer to do that than it is to unspool my headphones and they get tangled. His came out of a casing. It was like dental floss.
We went on at length about the kiss between Luke and Leia being weird.
Yes.
It's so weird.
It's so weird.
It's so weird.
And this, by the way, we're saying this is weird independently of knowing anything about their relation. It's just weird full stop.
Separate from that.
Yeah.
That's not the weird bit. It's a kiss that I don't even think happens. It's so weird. The way it's shot, the way it happens, the way they talk about it.
It doesn't suit. Like, I don't want to be just the person being like, oh, it doesn't suit Leia because it doesn't suit either character. That's my take on it. And I feel it very much is the case that you couldn't have a Hollywood blockbuster in the 70s with a guy and a girl who are both young and handsome and they're escaping and not have a job well done kiss. But I get what you mean. It feels like it's been like whatever the ADR equivalent of a kiss is.
I don't think their lips meet. They kind of just go near each other, and then she acts like that was a kiss, and it's not. But if we bring in the brother and sister thing, then we're like, oh, maybe we've been spared something gross. But like at the time, you don't know that.
I know, but it's just funny that even at the time, not knowing that, how it still feels like awkward and wrong or whatever it is. Like, I think that in itself was the telltale sign, because I believe like deep down in our genes, there are like these alarm signals that raise, and it's like Luke and Leia knew, and that's like their bodies telling them, no, that adrenaline was escape adrenaline. You are related and not attracted to one another.
It's like magnets. It doesn't actually let you get close enough. It like physically repels it.
Fucking physically repelled me from the screen. Good lord.
Yeah, it's a very, very strange moment in the film. And so, Kevin, we've got off wherever we were.
The Death Star, Sam. It's called the Death Star.
We've escaped from the Death Star.
Will we be getting more questions peppered in when we've escaped the Death Star?
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Martin asks, Kevin, is there a film that qualifies for Cinema Swirl, but you hate so much you wouldn't want to review it? Is there anything that could be a Cinema Swirl, but you don't want to do?
I've hummed and hawed on Rocky Horror Picture Show a lot. And not because I hate it, but because I don't. It's fine, yeah, but I don't love it, and it's not like everyone I know who even remotely likes that movie. It's like a fucking pillar of their identity to some extent. It feels like, and it's not that for me. So I'm really sheepish about like me going in and showing Sam this, and either I don't do a good job at showing it to him or hyping it or whatever. I don't know. That one for me was like I felt as an ineffective advocate of it. That's why I've not yet done it, even though I like it a lot more than I think I reckon I actually do, because I like the music. I dance to a lot of the songs in Just Dance. Okay. So, you know. It
sounds an awful lot to me like someone's too chicken to make Rocky Horror Picture Show a Cinema Swirl. So, you know, I don't know.
Also, I'm too scared of Return of the Living Dead as well. There's a lot of movies I'm too scared of, but I'm not actually scared, but I remember being scared of when I was a teenager, so I've not done those.
There's a similar question from Itchy, kind of similar. Are there films that you would have liked to have done an episode on, only to find out that I've already seen it? I think...
Titanic. And probably Die Hard. Although that being said, with Die Hard, I feel like we went into Die Hard 2 and 3, no issue.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, we didn't even do 2, did we?
We did 3.
We just did 3, yeah. God.
Yeah. But I think most of the ones that, like Matrix,
yeah.
Jurassic Park... There's a few, like Tarantino stuff. I think we've covered, talked about most of the ones where it would be an issue. For everything else, I think there's so much.
Yeah, I feel like with a lot of the movies that you've seen, we've had the fun that we were going to have with those peppered throughout 100 episodes by making reference and or jokes to them a little bit, I feel.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I never wanted to get hung up on the ones that we couldn't do and just more focus on the ones that we could in fact do. And
there's so many that we can still do.
There's so many. Yeah.
Luke writes, we all know about the RoboCop episode. Are there any other lost episodes, either lost to recording issues or just binned? Any films that were chosen, then you realise Sam has seen, or you were unable to watch for some reason and moved on from it? Honestly, Luke, not really, although we talked about this in the pre-swirl. The Sam and Kevin's Movie News Oscars special is like binned content that has not seen the light of day.
That wasn't technically Cinema Swirl as of the moment of recording it, so...
Cinema Swirl branded content.
That never saw the light of day. But yeah, I think I'm quite fortunate in that... I mean, I've had a lot of hiccups over... I mean, you podcast across several podcasts for 10 years. You're going to... And you're independent or whatever it is. We don't have people who do this for us. I think you're going to come across issues. But I think almost everything that I've ever had a fuck up with, we've found... I think on Cinema Swirl, I would say is probably the one that has been least affected by anything like that. Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, if we sit down to record something, we'll get something out of it eventually.
Yeah, we're quite good at knowing before starting to record whether we're... So I think some of these could be binned if we were not in the mood for it or something was up with us personally in terms of how we were doing.
That's happened to me with other podcasts, but because we're so... have to plan this in and schedule it and whatnot. Yes.
If we're not feeling well or not up to it, we know that in advance and we tell each other and we reschedule the recording. So I think the times where an episode might be a bit shit or we're not into it or it's just doesn't work have not actually come up because we can kind of
Yeah.
we've been able to catch that beforehand.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever done ones with like I think there might be one or two times where I have within an hour beforehand realized that my voice is fucked, or that I haven't got enough in my throat to actually record a full ass episode.
Yes.
And we've just rearranged. But generally speaking with us as well, if there's any problem, you'll find out about it. Because we don't suffer fools gladly.
No. And that's not to say that there aren't episodes with different or weird energies, because there are, but
of course.
For the most part we try and be as professional as possible.
You've usually found out when one of us is sick within 5 minutes of the episode itself.
Yes, but for the most part the only fuck-ups have been technical, and we've still managed to cobble together the episodes.
What happened to that RoboCop episode exactly? Why did it I know it got fixed by Ash, but I don't know what
Thank you, Ash.
caused it in the first place. Did we have a crash while recording or after we had recorded?
I know what happened. We were speaking into two sides of the same microphone, and the polar pattern on the microphone was set to a directional setting by accident, where it was just picking up whoever was talking into the front of it, which was you. Ordinarily, we set it on the setting that would record both sides. It was only pointing towards you and picking up you. So my audio on that was so quiet and deliberately, by the nature of the microphone pattern, not meant to be picked up, that I was basically inaudible.
Damn, yeah, because I think what that was is because that was when I had one microphone for all the podcasts, and you'd go between single, 2 or 3 people all. And I'll tell you one thing about the Blue Yetis and the Pro. That thing doesn't like to fucking move normally.
No.
That's a fucking... I've got fingers on me like traction engines because of that.
But for whatever reason on this occasion, it did. I tell you what, the remote recording has made audio problems less of an issue, weirdly.
There's a series of fail-safes in place, as you notice. I think Rocky 3 got fucked up a bit, didn't it? It recorded, I think it auto-detected the wrong microphone for it, and because I had new headphones and the headphones had a little mic in them, and I recorded off of that for a bit. So I think that sounds a bit rubbish.
We put fail-safes in place, so we usually have a backup and a backup of the backup, and there's enough in place that even if something fucks up massively, we've got something that we can use. It's not always fun in the edit to fix them, but I'd rather have the in-the-moment reactions, even if they're less good audio quality, than lose that.
There was an episode as well recently where, because there was some issue with me and then there was an issue with your time or whatever it was, and we then ended up having to have an unusually long break between the pre and post swirl.
Yes.
Which then, I can't remember what it was, but I do remember we were both fretting about if we remembered the movie well enough, and I think we were trying to find 5-minute condensed versions of it. It wasn't 7, but it was something like that, where it was, it had an actual story that you needed to remember and not just space wizards being turned into ghosts, which is how I get into bed at the end of the day, like Obi-Wan here.
But because the nature of the show is my first reaction to something, we, for the most part, really can't afford to...
That's it, you can't do it twice.
Fuck this up, so...
Yeah. I've had to do that on a couple of other podcasts where I'm I want to start over, or we realize halfway through there was an issue, we just go. But you can't do that here. That's why this is very, very difficult to replicate. You've got one chance, do not miss this opportunity. Mom Spaghetti, 8 Mile, coming soon to Cinema Swirl.
Kevin, it's podcasting with no safety net, you know?
Even though we have just went through in painstaking detail a series of fail-safes that are in fact in place.
We have got some...
multiple safety nets.
There's no safety net. We're very secure. There's health and safety stuff in place, but it still feels brave to be doing it, man.
It does,
It still feels very brave.
It's brave because we've not read the appropriate documentation that has come along with this legislation to explain it to the layperson. How did you get on with your space fight in this movie after having perhaps a much more ostentatious, over-the-top, fucking Beluba's 20 out of 20 scale space battle in Force Awakens?
Hey, man, it's good stuff, this. This is
humble space battle, isn't it?
I suppose the blaster battle on the bridge was classic Star Wars, but this is also classic Star Wars, to the extent that Force Awakens has just gone, do you want more of that again, but more?
Yeah. Hang on, here's the bit that you all want, you sick freaks. Red 1 standing by, Red 2 standing by, Red 3 standing by, Red 4 standing by, Red 4 standing by. Red 4? What are you doing, Red 4? I'm standing by.
Okay.
All right. Red 5, standing by.
Now, tell you what, two lads in 2014, we had a big go at Porkins for being a big lad.
Oh dear! I don't want to be, because I know I've had people tell me going, oh, I'm sick of hearing you say sorry about things from but I was on a different podcast, so I've never said it here. But if you ever listen to this podcast and I said something like that was like clearly giddy, stupid, mean-spirited shite, I'm very sorry. I was a very different person back then in many respects, and one of those respects was that I was a little heavier, and I thought it was okay as a result to have carte blanche. But that doesn't come across on a podcast. It just comes across as not as a guy having a go at someone and being mean. And I'm sorry, it's fucking awful.
No, we were both dicking about and saying stuff like that.
It was me, though, in fairness, Sam. You're very nice to try and share this blame, but I was the lad who was being an arsehole in those episodes.
But the film is a little bit like he's the silly one.
They didn't necessarily fucking throw any water over the 2014 edgelord.
No.
No, they didn't. By calling him Porkins and having him die in an unspectacular manner.
Porkins.
We didn't need to know that.
You can't call him Porkins. That's ridiculous to do that.
I have poured one out for Porkins.
Yeah.
And I can only hope that there is fan fiction out there that lionizes him and lifts him up to the status of a god, which is what he deserves after fucking 30 years of hurt.
Yes, and you know what? I think it's probably a good opportunity for me as well to, just as a blanket statement across all of Cinema Swirl, say, I'm sorry. I'm
What are you sorry for?
I don't know, but there might be some, so I've not really I'm sorry.
I always am very thankful that the date of release is right beside the episode when you press play. Kind of, yeah.
We don't need to put that like contextual warning of like it's there. Old. You can see like that. This is old. But this fighter stuff, the whole blowing up the Death Star, fucking cool. They're so cool.
Beautiful. The miniature work on it is like, it's so fucking bananas. I watched Godzilla -1 recently, a strong recommendation for anyone, and that similarly it went back to that era of like miniatures. I don't know when they became like kind of a gag or like a sideshow attraction type of a thing, or like something that's like wasn't viewed as skill, because I feel like claymation was like that as well, where there was a period where it was like a highly respected art form, and then it became this kind of like gag for kids, and then it's like came around. Miniature work is like, goddamn, if there was no high-end miniature work, this entire movie would not work even 1/10 of the degree.
No.
And you can pour over, like, there's loads of footage of all of the nerds fucking working on this shit, and they didn't even have the Games Workshop to get the paint or Papa John's back in 1977. So amazing work. So good.
Really good. Really impressive. I realised that when we watched the original and talked about it, we mentioned that they kind of undersold Obi-Wan Kenobi's death. I think it's funny that we have also kind of skipped over it and forgot that it kind of...
I said it's how I get into bed.
He has the fight with Darth Vader is like in fucking slow motion. It's a bit... They basically have like a fucking podcast with each other while they're doing like... It's just... They're having a full-on chat. It's like... That's how they catch up. That's how they bond as men, you know?
When I met you last, I was sponsored by Squarespace, but now I am sponsored by DogPass.
It's so like...
I remember reading an article in like Empire or Hot Dog magazine or one of those ones where they ranked all the Star Wars lightsaber fights.
Yeah.
And they tried to kind of put this over like it was like, you know, two old wrestlers had come out of retirement for like one last go. And all of the nuance and the artistry and the dance of the old was lost, but the passion was there. For those 20 stormtroopers who weren't doing their job and were watching, that was the greatest show on earth.
The problem with that is Star Wars doesn't have entrance music for these characters. Well, it sort of does a little bit.
Darth announces his arrival with a bit of music, Sam. Come on.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It does really have entrance music for those characters. But yeah, a bit of a slow fight, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi just kind of disappears. Like when he dies, he just goes... Boop.
Why isn't he a naked ghost when he appears in Force Ghost form then? Because he left them clothes behind him, left them trousers there, you know?
That would be a lot funnier if when he appeared as a There's a ghost. His Willie was there.
When he's saying all those things like "Run, Luke," he's naked. Run, Luke, run. It's like your dad's been locked out of the community centre and he can't get in to change out of his pool togs. Run, Luke. I want to give it its flowers as well, and 2 final notes.
Yep.
1, that's how you blow up a Death Star. Nice big ring of explosion there. I want more shape explosions. And with regards to our ceremony at the end, that version of the theme, that very ba 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 da da ba, I feel like if that doesn't exist, a lot of the music from stuff like Legend of Zelda and I don't know, it feels that's a template for a lot of like fantasy genre music, particularly in video games.
Yeah.
But the best thing about this movie is that all the things that are prettiest and all the things that are most entertaining are all the things that were pretty much unchanged. The stuff that's most pleasing to see, like visually, all the effects or whatever, it's the puppets, it's the miniature work, it's the sleight of hand by, forcing perspective and all that. And, the best stuff that's there for you as a fan is like the amazing interplay between absurdly, amazingly charismatic actors who seem to have went into the future and know what a big deal they'll become and come back with that weight retrospectively.
Yeah.
It's not like they change drastically in their performances going forward, but in all this other stuff, it's like it can't become a pile of beans to compete against the good stuff. As ugly as it is at points, it's not so distracting that I would say it's still an amazing watch, even in this awful form.
I really enjoyed having a little watch of Star Wars again. It somehow feels nostalgic to me now, which is fascinating considering I'd never seen it 10 years ago, but now it feels...
And does it make you want to watch, like, on your own some then, like, check out, like, an Empire Strikes Back or something like that?
Yeah, maybe. I think, I'm free to, like, watch some of these films again and just kind of...
not have to take notes.
Enjoy them on their own terms and just feel that little nostalgic kick. It's been long enough. Does
it require a reassessment in that sense then? Because you did rate it 4.5 star wipes on the first go around.
It's funny considering how much we've and ahed about whether half star wipes are okay or not.
From the get-go.
The first one is 4.5. So a lot of questions. So some of the ones I've skipped over are like, has Sam's opinion changed? Would he score things higher or lower now he's had a bit of time? There's a lot of that sort of stuff. And I think for some films, yes. But not for fucking National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, whoever said that. Like, I'm not changing my mind.
We did rank all 119 other episodes of Cinema Swirl. We ranked all those movies in a power list on the Patreon page. So you have had a bit of time to kind of dwell on this. And generally speaking, you've been kind to most Star Wars offerings, I would say. They all got block booked in a good spot on that list.
They did, and I did that list before having this rewatch, and actually it's made me realise that, you know what, my assessment here, 4.5 star wipes, is pretty fair.
Oh, I thought I was about to get a bump there. Good Lord.
No, I think that still stands. It's not a 5-star wipe movie. It's not. I'm sorry. But it's a 4.5 for sure.
It's a 4.5 star wipe movie. And I say to you, Sam, it has been the greatest pleasure of my podcasting career to spend these last 10 years showing you 120 plus-ish kind of movies. And if I was to give that a rating, it would unquestionably be a 5-star wipe experience. You heard it here first.
Can I also say that it's been nice doing this with you as well? Can I sneak that in?
Sneak in,
Kevin. I've also really enjoyed doing Cinema Swirl with you, and it feels like you got to say it first and be the most sincere about it. And now I look like I'm like, oh yeah, no, I also.
But I want to be sincere too.
Hey, here's to 10 more years.
Heck yes.
And then that's it.
That's it. No. I'm not doing... No.
The 20th anniversary will be the last episode.
And in the 20th anniversary, we'll watch Star Wars Episode 4 again, and you'll be fucking sick to death of it. Can you believe all this shit? He's been on Wikipedia and he's seen the changes. He watched Bad Batch and now he hates Episode 4.
We don't want to curse ourselves to watching Star Wars every 10 years.
No, I don't. I think that'd be the world's slowest till death do us blart knockoff that would possibly be there.
Every decade.
But I believe every decade we will certainly have at least some cause to look back and go, there we are now. And there you are now as well, the listener.
Here's to the first decade of Cinema Swirl, and here's to many more Cinema Swirls. I'm going to have some of this delicious blue.
Oh,
it's disgusting. It's horrible. Pepsi Electric is.
Look, we have to end on a nice sentiment, not a bad sentiment.
Here's actual Pepsi Max.
Why have you got another can of Pepsi? So, what the fuck? Look, all this lofty talk of a 20-year anniversary is starting to get a little bit asterisk heavy now. Come on. In the event that, yeah?
So, Kevin and listeners and everyone, cheers to Cinema Swirl. You heard it here first.
Hey. Ew.